stunt POC, so stunt performers of color, and it's the first directory that we needed. So, now the stunt coordinator can go on the database, and it's groundbreaking for us. So in the stunt community, that's really great. And also, LaFay Baker founded the Icon Award, so it was stunt awards, but really focused on women, highlighting women. Even the stunt coordinators who hire women when they don't need to, if they have, indie work, they're like, okay, well, we're going to blow up a car. We just need 5 people. Then, the coordinators can actually choose, like, oh, I'm going to choose a black girl or a black dude. Like it, so, they're the ones who hire us. So, yeah, a lot of things.
That's really amazing. Can you tell us about your very first stunt and what emotions were you feeling during that time period?
One of my first stunts was on ER, and it was, it was great because it was a group of us, and it was that were newer like myself, but we were in a building, and the building falls, it collapses, so we fall like 2 stories, and it's crazy because like sometimes you don't think about it, but we're acting as well, if we're playing ourselves. So it's like 20 of us that are on this floor, but they're actually like cables, and we have like the props with the cooler and beer, and we know that we're about to drop like 2 stories, and we're trying, but we have to have fun, like we're like, oh yeah, hey, and then we just know that it's like but that was insane. And plus the last like we were on cables, wires, and then when we did the second floor, it was a free fall into boxes, and we're pretty close to each other. But I was like, this is real. Like, if you fall, you're gonna break, like your ankle is gonna snap. Like you just, and you have to trust the team around you. Obviously the stunt coordinator, but also the performers around you. But yeah, that was pretty gnarly. But it was a good start because I was like, okay, I can handle this.
So with that, with having, the anticipation of like, oh crap, like this really intense thing is going to happen. How did you mentally and physically prepare for each stunt each time with it being so demanding?
Well, it's a little different. You have a stunt where you're kind of at the mercy of others. Like when I did a car crash, that was a little insane because I'm like, I'm gonna get in a car crash on Saturday, So like waking up and like, I'm really gonna get in a car. Like we're really doing this. But I was a passenger, so I really was at the mercy of the other drivers and obviously the stunt coordinator, the cars, and it was for Jeddah. It was showing the safety of the car, but it was we got T-boned. But that's a different type of stunt. That mental, you have to kind of know what could happen and just kind of be prepared and submit to it. Then there are other types of stunts where it's kind of all on you. Like when I had to fall out of a moving car. I've done that a few times, but you have to know like how to hit, how to roll, And so I do it mentally in my mind, and I think this comes from gymnastics as well. Like it's almost like it's almost like I could feel it in my body, like how I'm gonna hit the pavement and and then hit my mark, obviously. And the camera's like, hopefully the cameramen are gonna get on the first take. But yeah, it's very mentally demanding as well. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
The car scene, forgive me, the car scene that you were in that you just mentioned, what project was that in?
One of them was Ghost Whisperer, and I was sitting on top of a convertible, and the actress had to like push me off. I think she was like a ghost. And sometimes it's funny because when an actor doesn't really know that you're about to do like a stunt or you're doing it yourself, they kind of freak out like, wait, you're gonna fall out of the car? Wait, as we're moving? Wait, how do I push you? Wait, do I really touch you? And then I'm like, I'm already a little kind of anxious, like that, but she had to just kind of slightly push, and then I fell out of the convertible. And then another time was on Donovan, the show. Oh my gosh, doubling Lisa Bonet, which was really cool because I doubled her daughter, so it was kind of cool to double her as well. But yeah, that was another falling out of a moving car. Ray Donovan. Yeah.
Can you describe, I would love to hear about your most memorable. I know this is probably like, like you have so many, I'm sure, just hearing, what you mentioned already. But looking back, one of your most memorable stunts, just why?
Well, I would say too, um, when it was earlier on Smoking Aces, and it was a whole collaboration of so many stunts and so many things going on, and I really didn't have to do a lot. I had to look like Alicia Keys, for the storyline, and I had to walk out of an elevator, and then I end up getting shot, and I have to fall kind of like on Ryan Reynolds, and I'm like, it's Ryan Reynolds, and I have to, but that's all I had to do. But really what was happening is they have like the chainsaw, the chandelier is falling, there was somebody on fire that was running. I mean, all this going on, but you also have to do the timing correct. I'm like, if I don't react, and if it's if it's too early or if it's too late, and then what happens to everyone else? Are they gonna have to get relit on fire? So but I remember that's probably one of my favorite memories, because Joe Carnahan, like after all of it took place, he was like, I can't say it, but he was like, F yeah, yeah. He was just so excited. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, because we're a team, and it's like that immediate like gratification. So that probably is one. And then also when it was a near miss on a car, and I had to get pulled through a glass. And that was very cool too. It was on Sons of Anarchy. But that one, it has to be when the car comes, if you are like a half a second too soon or half a second too, it's not going to look like the car. So, I'm looking at, because I'm in a wire, somebody's literally like pulling, and sometimes they'll be on a ladder, literally just jumping off and pulling you. So, but I love that. I mean, just that adrenaline rush, because there's so many elements, to doing that. But I love that. And, playing the character too. And then, the glass on my face with all the blood, like that was really exciting.
Yeah, you're giving you mentioned like you had to look like Alicia Keys. You're giving Alicia Keys vibes today, and I'm really digging it.
Thank you.
The next question that I have, kind of speaking, because I heard the passion that you had with the last story you mentioned about being a team, and just that adrenaline, and the excitement that occurred after you like successfully landed this like amazing stunt. Like fire, people were on fire. It's crazy. Two things. I'm really curious how many like the ratio of the stunts that you had to do. Not what was there a lot of repeat having to happen, and how did you push through that if the scene was like, oh, we got to do another take, and we got to do another take? What did that process look like for you?
Well, when there's glass involved, they'll have a few sheets of glass, so you already know the times that you're going to do it. But you always want to do it in the first take. That's good for everyone, especially for injuries. Like, you don't want to do it again. This is something that I learned early on, and I'm like, oh no, let me do it again. If the director is happy, you move on, and you're like, oh, I could have gone higher. I could have done this hit differently, but and sometimes that's when injuries happen, and it's not, and it's uncalled for if everybody is happy, but there are some stunts that I've done where you're like in so much pain. Being a gymnast, a lot of my stunts were like falling, crashing, wire work, and so if you're hurt, and just think about it, like you're in a harness, there's like 150 people on set, all the departments are relying on you right now, and you can't. I mean, it's you kind of just have to keep going. But another thing too is like if you're hitting the concrete, and you have to continue doing it, and it could be because the dialogue wasn't right, or it could have been you, or it could have been somebody who's put on the other side. Like there's and mistakes happen, or you rehearse, but you just really never know what's going to happen. But you're when you have so much adrenaline, sometimes you can't really feel your body yet. So there's been some, situations where when I wake up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't move my shoulder. Like it kind of hits later on.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's how do you with that like advocate first with safety precautions, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So how do you, as an individual on this entire team, advocate for your safety and make sure that um, that's being considered and that you feel safe and, also with your team members that you're working with?
Well, I think relationship with the stunt coordinator is very important, because if you there was a stunt that I was doing on Divergent, doubling, Zoe Kravitz, and we were jumping out of a moving train, and I was the shortest one, and they kept moving the train further away from the wall. And it's a train, and so they kept asking, like, are you good? Do you think you could clear it? I'm like, I mean, maybe I could go like half a foot, but you can't. And I don't want to not make the wall and then get caught in the, but you really have that relationship with the stunt coordinator, and you have to communicate. And also, when you're doing a stunt, let's say you're doing a high fall, your team is there. You know what I mean? So that also makes you feel a lot better. It's not like, oh, she's going to go do her stunt, I'm going to go to my trailer. Usually the team is going to be there. And I think that it's very helpful mentally, and also knowing your own like capabilities as an athlete.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that'll be very helpful, especially for people who are, I feel that artists and entertainers and performers, when there's an intro to the industry, they're the advocating and, having that relationship and making sure that they're safe and feeling comfortable with the things they're doing is important rather than being like, oh, I have to do this thing or I'm not going to get hired again or whatever mindset that can, center around that. So thank you for that advice. I think that'll be very helpful. The next question I have, you're a gymnast. Your background was in gymnastics. As you progressed in your career, I know that that was a great foundation for you being able to do the stunts. Were there any other trainings that you decided to be involved in, or that your peers were involved in, that really helped the career and their career, your career in stunt work?
Well, I mean, if you're a stunt performer, you're constantly training. Uh, Fight training probably is I would think, the most recommended, because, if you see an action movie or even slapstick comedy, or, it's a lot of fighting, So I did a lot of training. I would not call myself a martial artist at all. I just say, I can fight for camera, because it's a big difference, and you have to know the camera angles, and it's very strategic. So I think, being a gymnast and a martial artist, it's really great, to have a background in, because you've done it for so many years. But then you also have to learn how to, if you're a martial artist and you're fighting for camera, and you're used to hitting someone in the rib, or you're not used to, and you have to make contact, you have to kind of tweak it a little bit, because it's for a camera, even though it might not feel natural. As a gymnast, I had to learn that too. When they're like, oh, can you do a backflip? Yeah, of course. Yeah, but you can't make it look like you're like in the Olympics, like you got to make it look dirty, she's flying through the wall, so it's a great skill to have, but then it's going to be tweaked a little bit. Dancers too. Dancers make really great stunt performers, because again, they know the body, air awareness, and the choreography. Is they're very quick with the choreography. So dance is a great background as well. But if I mean, in the beginning, it was great to roller skate and skateboard, and you know do great activities, because you never know what you're going to get. It could be tennis, basketball. I worked a lot of Disney shows, and they're like, oh, can you ride a skateboard down the steps or whatever, so it's always good to just be active, because you never know, you get a call, and then you work.
Makes sense. Yeah. Speaking of choreography too, how did you how were you able to collaborate with the production team and the stunt coordinator with choreography with the stunts that you were doing, or is it more of like a, you get on set and you see your marks kind of situation?
Thankfully, rehearsals are really big for us. If you're on a full-time show, one of the last TV shows that I was on, Black Lightning, the way it works is you have the core stunt team. I was doubling Nafisa Williams, and you read the script and then you rehearse and you shoot it, and we do a previs. So we shoot it like internally. It'll just be the stunt department, and they'll edit it and then show the director, which is really good because then the director might say, you know what, I don't want her to crash through the wall on the left, or I don't think this is, then we can tweak it, and then we go to set and we perform. So it's really a luxury to be able to have those rehearsal days, especially on, huge feature films. Like when I was doing Mad Max, I was, the stunt team was there a month before the actors got there just for training. Yeah, but sometimes if you get hired for like a daily here or 2 or 3 days, then you'll just kind of rehearse and shoot that day.
Thanks. What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about stunt work, would you say?
Uh, well, the obvious one that actors do all their own stunts. you know, Sometimes, when we watch the award shows and we're like cringing, we're like, really? Did you really jump out of that window? Because I remember I did, and I got like 18 bruises. But, I mean, but another thing is a lot of the actors, they get in there too. The nitty gritty, you see the behind the scenes with like Halle Berry, like they're getting fit, they're getting, they have their trainers. I don't want to take that away from the actors because a lot of them, they do a lot, and the training involved, like, I mean, just look at Viola Davis, right? Like the training involved is really extensive. But it's also a safety factor. If you have your lead actor who has a broken arm, now the whole set's going to be shut down, or you got to cover, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's just a safer option because that's what we do. That's what we're trained for. So I think that's a big misconception, is to really think that they all do all of their own stunts, even though a lot of them are badasses. Um, Also, I think that, we're just kind of under the radar. We still have an Academy Award, and, the training that we do, even when we're not training, when we're not working, we're just constantly training, like the endurance alone, you have to keep up. When they're like, okay, another take, you can't say, can I just have a break and have some water? Sometimes, if the sun is going down, you're on location, like you have to just do it. So I just think that sometimes we're a little underrated, and also it's strange to know that it's unfortunate, but we're disposable. You know, if somebody gets injured, then they're like, okay, who's next? Let's bring them in, see if they can come to set. So it's the sad reality of it.
Let's continue that thread. What are some other, I guess, obstacles that you've experienced as a stunt woman, and how did you overcome them?
I think being a Black girl was, especially when I first started, it was very different. And, I'm pretty fair skinned, but I would go to set and they wouldn't even have makeup for me. I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. The hair, is a whole thing too. I remember, I went to set, I would always get my hair blown out. And when I went to set, they're like, oh, we have a picture of your hair curly because, you have multiple headshots. And they were like, oh, we'll just spray it with water. I'm like, no, you can't just spray. You can't get that Avion bottle and spray. That's not going to work like that. And I was told, I went to school, and you know what? My niece is mixed and I know how to do this. And so now it's like a whole battle with the makeup. And I remember I was in my trailer like tears because it was a whole thing. And the stunt coordinator was like, I heard there was a situation in the makeup, and then it's on us, right? Like I was being a diva. So that's really challenging. It's gotten a lot better, over the years. And also, if you have a lead Black actress, it's good to see like hair and makeup that they're of color as well, which in the beginning was not like that at all, surprisingly. Also, we don't really get a lot of calls for indie work. So if a stunt coordinator needs to hire 30 people, sometimes they don't really think, oh, let me hire, as police officers, let me hire 10 women and 10 men, or even of color. So it's a shame still, but that still happens. They're gonna call, it's the boys club. So those are some of the Jaundies, candies that it's really changed the game, having Stuntpac. And also on the Instagram, she's able to show, videos of, the performers training and working. So it's really, I mean, it's really been a game changer for our community.
Yeah, those stories are far and true in the entertainment industry, but I am glad to hear that it's like getting better too. That is something that I'm thankful for. Is the narrative right now. Going back to all of these amazing actors that you have been able to double for, we'll say the names again, and like Zoe Kravitz and Halle Berry, Raven-Symoné, etc. Are there any stories that come to mind when you go back to these movies with these individuals? And then also, like, with your preparation for the role, can you talk about how you were able to do that and transform into them? Because there's also like demeanor and physicality and things as well that you have to take into account.
Well, I feel like Zoe is one of the dearest to me because, I had a lot of years run with her, especially Mad Max, because we were there for like 6 or 7 months in West Africa, and then shot in Cape Town. But they asked if I wanted to cut my hair for her and for Halle, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to cut my hair. I ended up not having a wig, and then like a year later chopped it off and had a blonde mohawk. But you really, I feel like the relationship that you have with your actors, my experience is that you're a team, and sometimes they can have fears that you don't really realize, and you're really there to support them, keep them safe, make them look good. But I think, and Zoe, like, she was in her early 20s, when we first started working together. So seeing her grow and be the face of, is like, it's like, ah, she's doing it. She's killing it. But she was always very real, very honest. Halle, she's such the homegirl, like she shows so much gratitude. Her and Kerry Washington as well. They show so much gratitude on set that I think it really sets the tone for all the departments. And when I was doubling Halle on Extant, she had just had her son, and was it, yeah, I don't remember if it was her son, but her latter one. And she's still like breastfeeding. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is amazing what we do as women, that you have to, you're doing this in the trailer, you're coming back, you're in a harness, and she never would complain, and we just knew that she would have to take her breaks. And it's just insane what these women do. And Kerry Washington too, as a mother, but they're just so gracious, and they just don't act like above and beyond. They talk to all the departments. They're not going to go on set and be like, I'm only talking to the producer. And I really think that makes a difference, and I loved doubling for all of them.
That is really, really amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. So with that, are there any directors that you can speak to that were your favorite to work with, and explain why that experience was so special?
Joe Carnahan, remember from Smoking Aces? I still feel like he was one of my favorites because I felt like he's not doing the stunt, but I feel like he kind of wanted to do the stunt at the same time. Like, he was living through us. And I think that kind of adds another element of like wanting to really do well. J.J. Abrams, I think, was amazing too on Star Trek. He called the whole stunt team and just was expressed like, thank you so much. Thank you for doing your job. We're glad that everyone is safe. And not a lot of directors take the time, and, like what I was saying before, we're disposable, and And to have the director just acknowledge what we do, regardless if it's a huge stunt or not, I think that really speaks to me. F. Gary Gray is great, on Straight Outta Compton. After, I got hit with the bat around, but after every take, he would be out of his chair, like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And the stunt coordinator, Lynn Oding, who's a great director now, he was like, "She's fine, man. She's a stunt girl." And I was like, I kind of like this love. Like, he cares, because, they don't necessarily treat you like that. If you're stunts, you're stunts. Like, you're just hardcore. Like, we're robots. You know what I mean? Also, I've I've really oh, Gina Prince Bywood. She I doubled Gugu on I forgot what it was. I think they changed the name when she was a star. She was an artist, and I had to hang out of the Sofitel window, and it was like, I mean, I don't know how many floors it is, but I mean, my boyfriend at the time was like, "Are they gonna have a pad for you?" I'm like, they're not going to have a pad. Like, it's like I'm hanging out of a huge building, the Sofitel Hotel in Beverly Hills. But she's so precise in her vision and very professional. But I love that too, because she's not only a woman but a Black woman that owned the set, like conduct, just very confident. And I feel too, when the director is really confident, it helps us as performers too. Because if they get on set and we're about to, like, do a crash, and they're like, "Are you sure you're," because we're human, so sometimes they're kind of shocked too, like, "Oh, they're really gonna blow this up." Yeah, yeah, it's about to get blown up. So, but those are some of the directors that I love working with.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that would be a lot of have like a nervous director. It's like, I don't know about this stuff. You're like, well, I guess I don't know either. Looking back at your career, though, what would you say is the proudest moment that you have in your career as a stunt woman?
I think my proudest, well, two. I think one of my proudest moments were when I said no, because a lot of the stunt coordinators, and listen, I am so grateful, and I feel like it's been a privilege to be able to work on the projects that I have and double the actresses that I have, and, like, make these, like, beautiful relationships, with, everybody from special effects, producers, directors. But I think when my body had just had enough, and I got a call, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to do a ratchet?" And a ratchet, like, you're in a wire, and you get pulled, but from a machine. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? It's pretty hardcore. So and I just said, "You know what? I'm at a point in my career that I just don't want to do that." I don't want to hit my body on the concrete anymore. I can't, and I think it was a realization for me, and also the stunt coordinator, because the stunt coordinator, they're calling you for a job. Like, a lot of people don't say no. And I think he was shocked, and I think I was shocked. I'm like, but I can say no. I don't have to do every job. And I've already done this over 10 years. I have a right to say no. But I mean, there's a better way to do it. I would not suggest just, maybe you just say you're not available, like, maybe not be as blunt as I was, because that, the call was interesting. But I think going back to Mad Max, when I was able to fly my parents to Cape Town, and they got to come on set, and they got to meet Zoe, and my mom was so funny. She was like, "Oh my God, you look like my daughter," because she has little freckles too. She has a freckle on her nose. And, I think that was my most proudest moment, because I was able to do something I always wanted to do for my parents, to fly them down. And also for them to see what I did, like the behind the scenes. So for sure, that moment, my parents coming on set.
That's really beautiful. So I have a few more questions for you. I really want to know what advice you would give to an aspiring stunt person who's trying to break into the industry today.
The advice that I would give, it's so different. I have to say, like, when I started, I don't even think we had Google Maps. We had, like, the Thomas guide. It was so different too, because we literally had headshots, like black and white headshots, and we would sneak on these sets, and give, like, seek out the stunt coordinator, have to do research, see what he looks like, or she looks like, but back then definitely he. And then you give him the headshot and like, hi, you know, I'm new, I'm a gymnast, if you need a black girl, and they kind of look at you up and down because they got to see your body type, like who you can double. And it's like a self-induced interview, you know. And some coordinators like, I'm busy, like I don't want to talk, or some could be rude, or they, and you know what I mean, or they're busy, you know. So you're kind of at, you don't know what's going to happen, but you have to. That's how we did. It was called hustling. That was back in the day, right? Like 15 years ago. Now social media is a great platform for, you know, the newer generation, because before it was kind of taboo too, a little bit. Like when we would get licensed for stunt driving, we couldn't have any video. You know, now it's like, now they'll make a video, there's training facilities that they will shoot for you and edit for you. So you know, there's it's so many, just so many opportunities to really expose yourself. And I think that's really good. It's really good for them to utilize. But I feel like they're kind of doing good. This younger generation, they got the social media, you know, on lock. Also, don't lie. Like if you can't swim, don't take a job in the water. You know, like it's, people have done that, and you can't, if you don't ride a motorcycle, like if you, I didn't know how to ride like a moped, and I got a call for it. And what I did was I rented, I said, I was honest, I said, I feel like I can do it because I want to do it. And I rented one and I drove it for like 2 or 3 days. And then I even drove it to like the, like kind of like a rehearsal. And the stunt coordinator was like, oh, you're good. But I learned that skill, but I was also honest, you know. So that's a really, because you're gonna put so many people in danger if you don't do it, or if it's something you don't want to do, like a fire burn. I knew I was never going to do a full body burn. I knew that. And you know, so if your gut is telling you don't do it, and don't do it for the money. Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I would like you to finish your thought. I think I cut you off.
Oh, okay. Oh
Prematurely.
no, I was gonna say, and you know, perfect your craft, whatever you do. Like don't think like, oh, okay, I perfected my, you know, what, at 540, I'm good now. I'm gonna be a great stunt. Like continue training, protect your craft, because you can do it in the gym, but once you got like 4 cameras on you and 200 people in there and everybody's looking at you and you're wearing a super suit, and or you got heels on and you're, you know, you're restricted in your movement, like you got to be very confident in your skill set, and also mentally.
All of that was very valuable advice. And what I heard the most was don't lie. You're going to put people in danger, and continue to train and, you know, like work on your craft. And I think that's transferable to like every industry as well. So as we wrap, you're a producer and entrepreneur now. I would love to hear about your transition from, obviously you're retired from stunt work, into producing. And if you could tell us a little bit about your short film that you produced, and any work that you have upcoming in the books, and about your business, and just how we can stay updated with you and the work that you're doing now.
Oh, thank you. Well, going into producing, as a stunt performer, you can go into second unit directing or stunt coordinating. Those are the two that I never had an interest in. So if you are performing and you're thinking of, you know, like, can you do this forever? I don't know if you're going to want to hit the concrete at 65 years old, but it's great for stunt performers to do both. For me, I chose to produce because I love filmmaking, and also, you know, there's so much content that we have in our heads that's not out there yet. Um, so during, well, you know, during the lockdown, during COVID, I took 7 courses at UCLA Extension, which is really great. You know, I took 3 for directing, 3 for producing, 1 for cinematography, and I read plenty of books. I have a lot of producer friends that were mentoring me, and so I felt more, after the courses, I felt a lot more confident. You know, the short Perspective, excuse me, Veronica Nichols, she's a good friend of mine. She wrote and directed and produced it. And so when she asked me, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, let me read the script. Let's do this. So that was, and it went really great. Really, it's won a lot of awards at film festivals. And it's a great story. I produced 2 music videos. Actually, one just dropped last week. It's called Like Damn. Varnell Hill is the artist, and a stunt friend of mine, Gabriel Nunez, directed it. So that was really cool working with him as a director. I have 2 other projects that are in development. One's a feature film and one is a 1-hour scripted TV show. So that's, you know, that's really exciting. And my clothing line, it's Caponata. It means born leader in Italian, and I actually got a utility patent for a sports bra. So it's a sports bra with a built-in waist trimmer. So it's yeah, it's good. It's great for women. It gives really great back support, and the neoprene makes you sweat. So if you want to go to the gym, have extra sweat, it's very good for that.
I need to, that actually sounded really good. I felt like sitting here in the chair, I'm like, I think I could use that. I'm going to have to check out your website after this, seriously. Well, that's really exciting. With the film, is it accessible? Is it still just in the film festival circuit right now? Can we watch it is what I'm asking. And where?
Yet, but
Okay.
We do have an Instagram, Perspectives Film. But yeah, we can't release it yet because it's still in the circuit.
Copy that. We'll keep a lookout. I'll just, you know, put my notifications on for the page.
Thank you.
Wait till you guys let us know. Well, I want to thank you so much, Natascha, for your time. I want to give you a moment if there's anything else that you would like to say before we log off.
I really appreciate the interview, and I think stunts, like, even though I am retired, I mean, I still, you know, if they call me for a cool, fun job, commercial, whatever, I still, you know, I'm not 100% retired, but I'm just so thankful to have that background, because I think stunts is really special, you know, the camaraderie and like what you learn, and also learning about yourself and your body and pushing you through. I think that it helps, like, in life too. Like, looking back, I'm like, you know what? I did that show for 6 months, and it was night shooting, or we, you know, have to be on set at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we shot 16 hours. And, you know, it's a phenomenal industry to be in. And I'm so glad to have that background, because it helps me even as an entrepreneur now, you know, fighting through and moving forward, and persistence, discipline, you know, communicating with people, you know, learning how, you know, dealing with different personalities. So I'm so thankful to have that. And thank you so much for sharing your time and doing the interview.
Absolute honor. Yeah, and we love the transferable skills all the way. Thank you again for your time. We can't wait to see you in action again, maybe, like you're saying, you know, keep a lookout for that too. That'd be really great. And to everyone that's watching, thank you for tuning in, and stay updated as we continue this speaker series, and have a beautiful rest of your day. The last thing I will say is Mack Performing Arts Collective is always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for partners. We want to continue to push this programming and have amazing, amazing people like Natascha come out to speak to people, communities, and aspiring entertainers and performers and artists. So thank you for tapping in. You can follow us on social media at Houston MPAC. You can also go to our website, impact-arts.org. And we're looking forward to stay updated with you. Have a good evening, guys.
Bye.
This is Thomas Miles, nephew Tommy from the Steve Harvey Morning Show. As a radio personality, comedian, actor, and producer, I know what type of hard work and dedication it takes to make an impact in the world of arts and entertainment. Mack Performing Arts Collective, a nonprofit for visual and performing arts, is doing just that. MPAC's mission is to cultivate the interests of visual and performing arts by exposing, educating, and entertaining. MPAC is dedicated to the formation of avenues into the professional world of arts and entertainment through several of its programs, including It's a Rap, Playhouse Theater, and MPAC Jazz. Through these programs, MPAC has launched film festivals, TV forums, music symposiums, comedy series and showcases, jazz shows, theater productions, acting and comedy workshops, and much, much more. All in an effort to create platforms for emerging talent and create access to industry insiders in an effort for those seeking careers in arts and entertainment to be successful. As a proud member of its advisory board, I would like you to support MPAC as a volunteer or as a donor. Please visit impact-arts.org today.